Whether it's the regular season or the off-season, we have you covered as we give you the best Tennessee Titans and NFL news and insight that a fan could ask for. You're watching the Titan Upload Network. The Power Hour is on the air, live streaming on YouTube, Facebook, X, and Twitch. I'm your host, Michael Bishop, and as always, thank you for joining us on this fine Monday evening. Here we are again, winless and answering so many questions that don't involve a win. But even with a loss, I guess you can consider this somewhat of being a win. But we've got a lot to talk about tonight. We've got a lot to get into, but I can't do it without the help of my right-hand man and good friend Tyler Staggs of Titanstein Podcast and of the BS Report. Tyler, happy Monday, or I guess the best Monday we could possibly ask for, especially since this train keeps on rolling the wrong direction. So,
happy Monday to you as well, buddy. Yeah, like you said, it's kind of a mixed bag. Don't get the win in like the box score, but maybe it's potentially a win in the long run. Who knows? Either way, we got to talk about another Titans loss tonight. So about as fun as it can be.
Yeah, about dental work fun. We'll just leave it at that. But, I mean, we were already setting ourselves up for the season finale this upcoming Saturday. There's going to be a lot of questions, especially going forward. Can the Titans finish the job out? Is it bad to want to root for them to lose? I mean, what narrative are we going to go with here? I mean, it's understandable that there's a lot of confliction here. You hate asking for a loss, but at the same time, we really don't have a lot of positive things going forward to root for this team, and it seems like this is the only thing holding it together at this point. But I digress. We definitely have a lot to talk about. We've got a lot of discussion points, especially with the previous game played against the Jaguars. Unfortunately, the Titans couldn't get the job done in very severe weather conditions at that. So, Tyler, let's not waste any time. Let's jump right into it. Get into our first segment. Let's get the kickoff rolling right now.
And here's the kick.
So once again, after a rainy Jacksonville day, unfortunately, the Titans weren't able to take advantage of many offensive opportunities, but unfortunately, they had no answer for a Jacksonville team that just seemingly could run the ball at will and had no answer for Brian Thomas.
Yeah, I mean, that sums it up pretty well. And I want to kind of say on that, I feel like one thing that probably hurt us in that aspect was, how little Calvin Ridley was involved in the first half. Because you look at what the Jaguars did with Brian Thomas, you talked about him being a problem. They got him involved early and often, and obviously had their run game working a little bit as well. But, then you jump over to the Titans side of things, and I know Callahan said that a lot of it had to do with the weather in the first half and the coverage, but that's one area where, as the head coach, I do feel like he needs some improvement, because even with all of that going on, like, teams are going to try and stop your best receiver. They're going to come up with coverages to stop him. So it's up to you to find different ways to get him the ball and, early and often. and get him going.
Not sure what happened there, but I think we got Tyler back on here. So that was interesting, Tyler. You were right in your thought, and then we just kind of just skipped out. So I guess
Yeah.
something's going on there, but we worked the bugs out. But go ahead and continue with your thought on that one. So
Yeah, I'm not sure the last thing you heard, but basically, you know, teams are going to try and take away your best players, even when the conditions are bad. Like, you have to scheme up ways to get your guys the ball early and often, and just come up with ways to do that. Jacksonville did it with Brian Thomas. He's their best weapon on offense. So, again, just one area that I feel like as a head coach and what he's looking to do with the offense that I feel like Callahan can improve.
And I mean, defensively, it just seems like we're just having so much trouble trying to find a way to stop the run. The last 2 weeks have just been telling. I mean, the linebacking core is definitely not pulling their fair share of weight, regardless of the fact that this team's missing a lot of key contributors, especially at the safety position with Amani Hooker being out. But I mean, what's going on, Ty? I don't understand why we've seen such a fluctuation of just the run defense just disappear the last couple of weeks.
That's a good question. I was hoping to have time to go back and rewatch some of the game to see maybe what was going on in the run game. I don't know if it's just a tackling issue. I don't know if it's a guys not filling the right gaps or what, because I mean, you see plays where they're stopping the run pretty well and keeping like where they kept the Jaguars at bay, but then all of a sudden you just have these gaping holes for ETN and Bigsby to break through and get to the second level. So I don't know if our D line's just getting pushed around that much, or if our D liner is opening up basically these holes for the linebackers to attack, and they're just going to the wrong spot, or what.
So let's consider this. We already knew coming into this game, the Titans were already in a tight race for the draft. And that's all we have right now. We just have, at this point, draft position. That's the whole talking point for the last few weeks at this point. So, regardless, we knew that the Titans, for fans especially, this was a must-lose game in order to try and keep track with the whole situation going forward. So now that that's done, and heading into next week, without jumping too far ahead, but still making a valid point here. So, I mean, what's your takeaway, Tyler? What is the best scenario for the Titans to go into this game? Should they basically come with a mindset where it's like, especially with incentives in place for some of these players, they're going to play, they're going to continue to compete, but it's just hard to sell trying to get a win here at this point. And I mean, what would you say to the fans that just find it hard trying to have that kind of just mentality where it's like, yeah, we kind of have to lose at this point, but they just don't want to embrace the suck, so to say.
Yeah. Look, I've been all over X. I've been on Facebook. I see fans going back and forth about what we need from the team. Do we need a win? Do we need a loss? And basically, look, for all the Titans fans out there, feel however you want to feel about it. Like, if you would rather get a win just for like your morale, for maybe some of the players' morale, and just to stick it to Houston, okay, cheer for that. If you're someone, and I'll be honest, this is more of the kind of the road that I'm on. yes, it sucks to lose. It sucks to lose against Houston wearing the Oilers uniforms, but at this point, I'd rather have the loss and really open up more options for us for the off season, because being top three, without jumping into it too much, if you're top three in draft position, really that opens up a whole lot more scenarios that could play out. So for fans out there, just however you want to feel about the game, feel that way about it. Cheer for a win, cheer for a loss, whatever you want.
And it's crazy to me, even the fact that we continue to talk draft capital. Teams are talking about trade potentials right there, especially if the Titans hold their current position at this point. So, Tyler, I got to ask, just from your perspective, what's the best scenario in that case if the Titans hold two? Do you think they should stick with the pick, or do you think they should deal it out? I mean, you got a lot of people that feel that, adding more capital at that point is a crucial component, especially trying to add more playmakers around your team. But the thing is, with the Titans, you still have a team that lacks quarterback. You still have a team that lacks an answer at the right tackle position, at wide receiver. So while I'm building an argument there for potentially doing that, I mean, what also would you say to just sticking with the pick as well?
I think because here's the thing. At this point, if the Titans lose, no matter what, they have a top 2 pick. I think it's more valuable to stick. I get where people are coming from with how you could trade that for a haul, add more picks to build this team up. My counter to that, though, is while that sounds nice, you build the team up, you add more weapons, say you add a right tackle, and you trade back and add the best player available, whatever. At a point, you build the team up a lot, you're going to have a bridge quarterback. I mean, we know that at that point. What are the chances that you're really going to be in that position again if you build the team up and you have a veteran bridge quarterback? More than likely, they're going to win you games in the future. So I think it's more valuable to stick in the top 2 if that's where the Titans finish.
And I mean, this is just kicking ideas around and seeing what sticks to the wall at this point. A lot can change after this game happens on Sunday. You're potentially looking at the Titans, if they win, sliding all the way down to 8th at this point from some perspective. But also, they're very much in play for the number 1 pick as well, Tyler. I mean, think of it this way. Buffalo is locked in at 2. They've clinched just about everything they could clinch. There's real no meaning except just to play the game. But you already know you're going to have to play a playoff game the following week. And your playoff window and even Super Bowl window is wide open. So for the Bills, even though they've already come out and said that they're going to let their starters get some playing time, this is a very, very winnable game for New England, if you think about the ramifications here, if they want to continue to just kick the idea around of seeing if Drake Mays will play, which Gerard Mayo's come out and said they might just bench him for this game. So while it seems like that the Patriots have a golden opportunity here to potentially open the door for the Titans getting the first round pick, I mean, would you still be inclined to trade that first round pick, or are you going to stand and pick? So I'm making it even more difficult for you. I'm giving you the first pick in this scenario, and I'm asking, same scenario, but I'm giving you the top tier pick, and you've already seen what the Bears were able to get from the Carolina Panthers only a couple of seasons ago.
Yeah. I've put a little bit of thought into that, even before the show. Like I was thinking about that throughout the day today, and at that point, I I could be okay with the Titans moving back if they they wouldn't get as big of a haul as the Bears got, but if they still tried to stay like in the top 3 or 4 and potentially get their guy, like trying, because if you have the first overall pick, if someone's wanting to jump up to it, I mean you hold the cards in your hand. Like if they're wanting to come up, you can kind of set the ground rules for them of what you need. And I feel like it would have to be one of those things where it's, we want these picks, but we also want to make sure that you're not wanting to take our guy that we can take right here at 1.
Yeah, because as you said, you're looking at an opportunity that you're possibly not going to get again. It's hard to say what's going to potentially look good after this game gets played and after everything's said and done. So, I'll ask everybody in the chat real quick before we get on our next topic. What do you guys feel? Do you feel that this is a pick that you want to trade out of, or do you want to make a pick? And if you want to make the pick, who's your guy? Tell us in the chat. We want to know while we're waiting. But while we wait to get some more answers there, shout out to Sad Boy Callie. So apparently he's been in all the live feeds. No fan base is sold on these quarterbacks. And I disagree with that point, Sad Boy. I'll give my take without giving too much take, but Tyler, I'll let you go first. Let's just talk about the quarterbacks for the moment right now. I'm not going to endorse anybody yet on my end, but, from your perspective, what's your takeaway from Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, who are obviously going to be the top 2 quarterbacks in this draft?
Yeah, and I'm like you. I'm not going to endorse one over the other right now. I will, but my take on them is, like, if I'm looking at the prospects, I think Shedeur would be a guy that would probably fit the system that Callie runs better, as far as it being a timing system. Like you have your reads, boom, 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 get through them. But on the flip side, Cam Ward, I feel like he's the guy that, he's more of, I think he can improvise better than Shedeur can. And, I just, from the time that he did play, just say in the bowl game this past weekend, I was watching a guy come right up the middle at him through the pocket, and he makes the guy miss, and he escapes the pocket, and just throws the ball on a line to his receiver. And you think about how the pressure has gotten to the Titans quarterbacks this season. He could be a guy that could come in and improvise more if they still have trouble with pressure getting through, and escape the pressure and make plays. So, as of right now, that's kind of where I'm at with the 2. Again, don't want to endorse one over the other. Still kind of waiting to see where the Titans end up draft-wise before diving in too much on looking at both Shedeur and Cam more and their play. But yeah, that's where I'm at so far.
Here's the thing with me. And while I'm getting a lot of good suggestions in here, especially take a veteran quarterback from the chat, Justin Fields comes up in the discussion, Derek Carr comes up in the discussion. I'm tired of rentals. I'm tired of going out and just renting a solution for maybe 3 or 4 seasons. Maybe you get a little good out of them, but they just don't pan out the way you want it to. I feel like we're trying to recapture Tannehill magic where we should be looking to progress forward. And let's just be honest. The names Justin Fields and Derek Carr, even Sam Darnold, that's not selling anything. Sam Darnold's working in a system with playmakers and the best damn wide receiver in the league. I don't see that translating over here if the Titans sign him to a long-term deal. Do I think he's progressed as a quarterback? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I think with the right team, he could potentially continue doing what he's doing. But the thing is, the Vikings have already come out and said they'd like to keep him. And I don't blame them. They've got the right system in place. They've got the right players there. They've got the right head coach. If any other team that I think Sam Darnold would fit better on that's not the Vikings, it would be the Giants. You saw what Drew Lock did with having Malik Neighbors. Give him Sam Darnold. I'd like to watch that matchup, but for the Titans, I want something that's sexy and sells and becomes the focal point and discussing point, especially if they lock down one of these top 2 picks. Because we already know the scenario that's probably going to play out. While I think New England is 90% likely to trade out of this pick, and they could, because obviously one of the quarterback heavy teams is going to make a move up. And it's hard to say for who right now. It's easy to say Shador. It's easy to dismiss Cam Ward at that point. But let's be honest. I think a lot of people are high on Cam Ward just as much as Shador at this point. I generally get to the mindset the Titans need something that is exciting. And that's what these 2 quarterbacks bring to the table in different perspectives. Shador's more flash. He's more sex appeal. He's more just attention getting. Cam Ward, high ceiling guy, improvise kind of guy, off script. But the thing there is there's a lot to like, especially with the right playmakers around him. So, as I said, I'm not going to throw my hat in the ring with any of these guys just yet. I'm not going to try and do that. I'm just setting up a narrative here where it's like, it'd be nice to have the Titans relevant in just any kind of talking point that's not a negative. And that's all we've had for the last few years. It's either been injuries or just lack of playmakers or basically they're on a losing streak. It's just consistently just infuriating. I need more than that. I need something that's going to get this fan base excited and wanting to fill in the stadium we have now, especially with a newer stadium opening in the next couple of years. Let's stop the rental mindset. Let's go and get something new and something that's fun and exciting. You're allowed to go out and buy the sports car. This fan base has earned the right to go buy a sports car, damn it, and I'm encouraging you to go buy the sports car. There's just going to be a lot of questions to get answered once we basically sign our name on the dotted line for whomever. And of course, that's just speculation at this point. I don't know if the Titans are going to do it, but I'm just going to be honest with you. I think that's the best way to think of it at this point. I mean, what is the draft but basically a massive game of chance?
Mm-hmm.
If anything, there's just as good upside as just as much as there is bad side. And we've seen both ways.
Yeah. And, again, people are going to feel how they want to feel. But since we're talking about the options here of trading back, staying, picking a guy, um, I saw this on X, and I believe it was from RJ, the host of Titans Coliseum, and he was talking about how look at the Commanders. Last year they were picking, the last draft they were picking number 2, and at that point, did people really feel like they were just a quarterback away, like as a team, from being competitive? I don't I don't think so. I don't think people thought that they were just a quarterback away. And again, this is not me trying to sell exactly what we need to do, but look at where they're at now. They stayed with that pick. They took Jaden Daniels. He's got them to the playoffs, and they've been an exciting team. And that's with a defense that hasn't played the best this year. Like, that defense has given up a lot. So, and the reason I'm bringing that up is because I do see a lot of people saying, the Titans are more than a quarterback away, which is why if we have a top 2 pick, we need to trade down and build up the team more. It still all comes back to the quarterback position. Do you potentially have a guy that can get your team over that hump? And like you said, it brings excitement too if you get one of those guys, which is what the Titans haven't had in a while, just like you mentioned.
And when you say a while, I'm talking about a good long while. Derrick Henry was an amazing player, but he never had that kind of just captivative just personality that the media just craves.
Right.
And Drayden, I know we don't need a top pick. I want a top pick. There's a difference. After everything this franchise has been through in the last few years, I think we're overdue for something nice. I don't care at this point. Eventually, through the draft process, you fall in love with a guy because he has the intangibles you're looking for, and you genuinely get hungry because everybody else is getting to go do the things you want to do. Kind of makes you sick, especially the fact where it's like we haven't been to the playoffs in the last 3 years. We haven't even scratched 6 wins since last year, and it's just been downgrading since then. So I'm going to be selfish in that sense. I don't want to trade the top pick. I don't know who's going to be the better prospect. I know there's quarterbacks out there that can get drafted later and potentially develop into somebody that could actually be a solid quarterback. But at this point in day and age, I'm going to be selfish at this point. Damn it, if we get a top 2 pick, I'm taking a top 2 player.
Mm-hmm.
Not just for my benefit, but for you guys. How many Titans jerseys are in your dresser right now that are relevant? Maybe Jeffrey Simmons?
Who else you got?
Go to the clearance rack. They're probably on there.
Yep. And
all 3 years of them.
One more argument I want to throw out there right quick for everyone, and this goes back to whether you should be rooting for a Titans win or loss on Sunday. A loss just benefits them so much more in the aspect of, like we talked about, all the scenarios it opens up. You either get a top 2 player in the draft, or guys that you feel like are top 2 in the draft, or if you're someone who is wanting the Titans to acquire more draft capital, then we need them to lose, because the only way you're going to get more draft capital that's really worth anything is if you have a top 2 pick to trade out of. If the Titans win and fall to 8, do you really want to trade back from there? Because then you're probably going to miss out on guys. You may miss out on the tackles. You'll miss out on receivers, potentially. You'll miss out on an edge, potentially. Like, just some more things to think about there.
And we got a super chat real quick. Shout out to Kick It to the King Productions. Thanks a lot for that. We appreciate it. And here's your reward.
Wow! Look what I found, Ma!
So tighten up. Texans not resting. Hello, Sanders / Ward. One can hope.
Mm-hmm. And I see Sad Boy Callie's comment, and I just want to hit on that right quick. But because I get where you're coming from, I think Bryce Young's name needs to kind of be withheld for right now, because not saying that, but he's kind of turned his season around a little bit and has been playing better. But that's the game that you play in the draft. You play the what-if game. It's a gamble. You're taking a chance that whoever you're picking, no matter where you're taking them at, whether it's the first pick, whether it's a pick in the 3rd round, whatever. Like, you're taking a gamble on these guys that they are going to turn into the player that you think that they will. And you say, what if we get a Paxton Lynch, Dwayne Haskins, so on? What if we get a Andrew Luck? What if we get a Peyton Manning? Like, just not saying these guys are them, but you can play the what-if game both ways.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Drayden. You're entitled to give your opinion, and we want to hear y'all's opinion on a show. I'm just going to stand up for you guys, especially in the sense of, I understand. I completely understand spending $200 million, and we've only got 3 wins to show for it. And 3 wins might all have to show for it. And with the whole situation, look, there's plenty of things that this team is going to have to fill in. But the thing is, it's part of what free agency is going to do. Not every position has to be a premium position, Phil. Sometimes you find guys that are cheap, but they put out production. They're just overlooked for a very minimal of biased reasons. For whatever reason, they don't get the kind of respect and discernment that they deserve. So I can see that, especially you look at a Sebastian Joseph Day. That's a cheap player that, puts up production. That's what the Titans should look for on some positions. Everything else, we've got literally months to talk about these whole situations. I promise you. Like, basically after the season's over, the next 4 months are going to be free agency and the draft, because that's all we got to look forward to at this point. But I want to be selfish for you guys. I'll be the selfish one. I'm going to say we deserve a top-tier franchise player. And I don't know who is going to have that ceiling or that high floor, but I promise you, we're going to get you the best analyst that we can to look at this and just have these discussions all season long, because believe me, this is the tasty hors d'oeuvre. We're just giving a taste here. That's why we're not endorsing anybody. That's why we're not saying that the Titans need to draft X, Y, or Z. It's 4 months of this, baby. Trust me. We got a lot to talk about. I ain't going to shoot the whole shot at this point. So, believe me, let's just get through next week. Then we can really sink our teeth into something a little more savory. And I know you guys want to talk players and give names. We'll get there. I promise. But in the meantime, let's hit our first break. And when we come back, Titans, Colts, what a mess. But I guess it was the Jaguars that were playing. It's the same thing, so it's the same premise. So I guess we'll just kind of just switch teams at this point. That's how bad this has been. I can't even get the game straight. So let's get our quick break in, and we'll be right back after this. Yeesh.
Roundtable Sports Network brings you NFL divisional debate coverage on a weekly basis from his favorite content creators across YouTube, featuring the AFC East Roundtable live Monday and Wednesday evenings, the AFC South Roundtable live Tuesdays at 7 p.m. EST, the NFC South Roundtable live Tuesdays at 7 p.m. EST, the NFC West Roundtable live Tuesdays at 9 p.m. EST, the AFC West Roundtable live Tuesdays at 9 p.m. EST. The NFC North Roundtable live Wednesdays at 6 p.m. EST. The AFC North Roundtable live Wednesdays at 6 p.m. EST. NFC East Roundtable live Thursdays at 6 p.m. EST. Roundtable Sports. Real coverage for real fans.
You're watching the Power Hour with your hosts, Michael Bishop and Tyler Staggs.
The Power Hour is on the air, live streaming on YouTube, Facebook, X, and Twitch. I'm your host, Michael Bishop, and as always, thank you for joining us on this fine Monday evening. The comments are booming, Tyler. I love it. I love when we get I love when we get a good stretch of comments where everybody just runs in and has like a lot of good opinions and just takes. So we'll definitely get to all of them. So sorry if we got to hit a pause button, but hey, we got to catch our breath on this thing because just believe me, there's a lot to talk about. But hey, we're always going to be talking football with you guys because that's how we roll here at the Titan Upload Network. So remember, if you love the show, help it grow. Follow us on all our social media platforms, whether it be YouTube, whether it be X, whether it be Facebook, whether it be Twitch. You can find us at the Titan Upload Network. And don't forget, guys, sharing is caring. Make sure that you share that show out to any Titans fans or NFL fans in general because we love talking football 24/7 with you every chance we get. It's Monday, baby. You got to love it. Win, lose, or draw. We talking football, y'all.
That's right.
So getting back to our comments before we jump into the next segment, because it's going to be a short segment. I really don't feel like talking about a whole lot of these losses because this is just, it's like basically dealing with ulcers at this point. I can take about 6 Rolaids and just hope for the best, and this is basically what the last few weeks have been. So Drayden says, here I was expecting it to be so much better than 3 wins. Lose, baby, just lose. We'll see how many people don't dress this week. We'll see where the organization stands. And we'll just, that's about all you can say. We'll see. You forgot Marcus, sad boy. I mean, if we could have figured Marcus out, maybe that would have worked out better. But that's a woulda, coulda, shoulda. And the thing is, sad boy, take PFF with a grain of salt. It's not anything that I would say is 100% accurate because, trust me, they've had just as many misses as they have hits. And I mean, their guys do good work. I'm not throwing shade at them or anything, but PFF's just basically something just kind of just, it's a easier visual aid for the fan that's trying to understand from a ranking standpoint, but it's not 100% foolproof. So asking, what do you think is the difference of Ward making his way through the tiers and Sanders and the obvious nepotism? I mean, Tyler, I'll let you take a stab at this real quick, and then I'll jump in on it.
Yeah, so the difference of Ward making his way up through the tiers and Sanders and the obvious nepotism. You know, again, I haven't really dove into these guys just a whole lot yet, but I feel like, you know, Sanders, he gets a lot of hate for his personality and all of that, but I mean, it's not like we haven't seen this before with prospects, and that, if you want to call it, confidence, swag, whatever they have going on to kind of hype themselves up. I mean, I remember back before he was drafted, I didn't like Baker Mayfield and Joe Burrow's, like, their attitudes and everything. But that confidence, I mean, I know Baker's had to jump around quite a bit, but look where he's at now and how he's doing. That, and just that confidence that he brings. I mean, he even took Cleveland to the postseason when he was there. Just say it's not always a bad thing.
I mean, with Ward, you look at a guy that's been in multiple systems in college, and that seems to be the trend right now heading into the NFL. You're experienced through different types of offensive systems, and it seems to be working for a lot of quarterbacks, especially that have an opportunity. Once they get in the NFL, then they progress going forward. I mean, Baker Mayfield's a clear example of, a quarterback being in multiple systems. Jalen Hurts, same premise. And I mean, with, Shedeur, it's like, I'm fine with the guy that's got some swag about him and has some confidence. If he backs up that kind of swag, then so be it. So regardless, as long as they come and play and they show up and show out, that's all that I care about. Everything else is just trivial. And I mean, honestly, especially with the Dion stuff, it's like, I get it. Dion can turn off people, especially with that kind of personality, but that's earned, and he's earned it.
Yeah.
If anything, Dion's one of the best players that's ever played the game, and that's a debate you can have. Man's got 3 jackets that you'll never be able to buy with money. 3 of them in different Hall of Fames. So,
and look, and Dion's always had that personality. I mean,
it's him.
I believe it's who he is, and so it's one of those things where, of course, his sons are going to carry kind of that same attitude and everything. Can they live up to it and produce like he did? Yet to be seen. But, maybe so. I mean, Dion basically, like, before he was drafted, he went into interviews with teams. What pick you got? I'm not going to be there. So, and didn't worry about it. Like, it's not bad to have that, but you do have to be able to back it up. So,
exactly. But I mean, that being said, we'll go ahead and get our swag going because it's time for the second segment. So let's just catch our breath and see if we can milk any kind of swag out of this thing. But rolling on with the talk. Yeah, there was more than just rain falling, and that was, unfortunately, L's were falling. Tyler, we might just need to pack away the Victory Monday shirt because, I mean, I guess we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about that.
I was just say, I've already.
You're on the same wavelength as I am, so we'll kind of just set that on the back seat and come back to that.
Already been thinking about it.
Okay. I think that might be appropriate. We'll see what happens. We'll keep you guys on the edge of your seat. Come back next week and, we'll have a laugh about it. So stay tuned. But regardless, let's start with some stuff that we loved in the game. A little more to love in this game than last week. So I'll give some love to special teams. They have been playing particularly well the last couple of games.
Yeah. Really, like you said, last couple of games, special teams have been playing better. Like, you haven't seen as many of the big returns. I honestly don't even think there's been that many penalties called on the special teams.
They played clean.
It is good.
Very clean.
So, go ahead.
So, I mean, I'll take into consideration as well. You sign a kicker right off the street, and he was able to just get you a few points. So, shout out to Matt Wright for doing his job, and unfortunately he got released today. But hey, 'tis the life of an NFL kicker. But they were able to get that job, squarely just finished. So shout out to the special teams for actually showing some improvement. I mean, is it enough to save Colt Anderson's job? I mean, that's up for discussion, but believe me, we'll discuss that at another time. I'm just going to I'll give some discussion points where it's like, I like what special teams is doing, but I can say that I've loved them this week.
Yeah, and for me, look, it's no secret. The Titans have been, I think they're the second most penalized team in the league this year. So only having 5 accepted penalties on them for 34 yards. I can't remember if there were maybe a couple more that didn't get accepted or not, but overall, not too bad. I mean, they had less than Jacksonville in this game, so I'll take it.
Of course, we got to get to the rough stuff, and well, that's just part of the segment. So, Tyler, what did you hate?
I mean, Al pretty much hit on it. Tajay Spears getting hurt again, and I mean, it being another concussion, even with the Guardian cap. And it just, I hate it for Tajay because he gets his first start. At one point, he had over 100 rushing yards, but then I think he lost like 5 to knock him back down. But, I mean, having the lead role in a game where Tony Pollard was out and the dude was just shining again. I mean, he is so elusive. So many times it looked like he was maybe going to have a run that was just like either a loss of 2 or maybe he could get back to the line of scrimmage. And all of a sudden he's turning it into a 3-4 yard gain. And just unfortunate that his day got cut short again by another concussion.
And it's really getting concerning, especially with the concussion issue. It's happened frequently this year, and I just really hate to see that his gameplay just gets cut short over a situation like that. And now more than likely he's in concussion protocol. So we might have just seen him for the last time in 2024, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for me, it's definitely the one turnover. It really felt like that one just got forced, and that was completely and 100% on Rudolph at that point. I mean, I understand there's only so much you can do in the weather, and Chestnut's not the kind of back that can make these kind of catches out of the backfield. So I didn't even understand the play call within that structure. So I just really felt like that it was just the Titans had a golden opportunity at getting points off that drive because you felt like there was some good momentum going and then just killed it dead in its tracks. So I'd even take it as far as crediting that definitely just changed the entire momentum of the game.
Yeah, and I mean, a little bit of credit, some credit has to be given to the Jaguars defensive lineman that got his hand up and tipped the ball because it was just enough to put it out of Chestnut's reach. But, like you said, that was one of those plays early in the game that kind of really changed things around.
Good seeing you, MB. I hope some teams trade for the Titans for the pick. And Al, I think they tried him out a couple times on the kickoff, but for the most part, it just seems like that Jackson was the guy for most of the year till basically that just blew up in our face.
Mm-hmm.
Which that's probably going to be another position we end up addressing in the draft or maybe in free agency. But let's get to the surprise part, and I messed up on this, Tyler, so that's on me. So That was supposed to be Rudolph misses Okonkwo, so I didn't get a chance to go back and correct that.
That's all right. Yeah, I mean, last drive of the game for the Titans, chance to tie it up, and 2 times. I mean, I feel like it was maybe a couple of times in a row. And I could be wrong on if it was that one or the one where they had the field goal. I'm trying to look back through here. It may have actually been the one for the field goal. Had Chig wide open. Overthrew him on one, I mean, just out of reach of his hands. And then another one that I feel like it was another one of those where it could have been a better ball by Rudolph. And, you're potentially talking about the Titans either tying up the game or, getting in better position to run a couple different plays. I think one of them would have gave them a first down, like inside the 10. So just surprised me that Rudolph missed those throws because usually he has them more on the money.
Yeah, that definitely was one that just kind of just caught your attention in all the wrong ways. But, I'll give my surprise moment to Calvin Ridley's second half. For most of the game, he was just consistent, but really he just started looking better and better as soon as he just kept getting the ball in his hands. And if we could just find a quarterback that can do that consistently and build that rapport with him, I feel like that Calvin Ridley could be even more dynamic than what we could potentially have seen him do, even in Atlanta or Jacksonville at that point. It's just, can we find the right guy? But like I said, we've got plenty of time to talk about that. We've got months worth to talk about that. Just not going to jump too deep into that right now. So, of course, you got to go with the player of the game, and I think that we're both in consensus. Tajay Spears was heading for a 100-yard day before he got knocked out with an injury, which is massively unfortunate. And even more so with more concussion problems, it's just infuriating with the fact that this young man I feel like we just haven't seen him just have that breakout game to where we just know that he's the guy that we could just hand the keys to if we need them.
Yeah. Like you said, consensus, Spears, player of the game. I mean, like I said, did have 100 yards rushing on the dot. The play that he got injured on, he lost 5 yards. And, the injury concerns, especially with the concussions, and even more so, like I mentioned earlier, with the Guardian cap on, that's concerning. Because we know that that's supposed to help cut down on concussions. So, but, this was the game where it feels like every time we've seen him start, showcasing, just some of what that potential is with him and what he can be, an injury seems to come up and cut it short. And, this was another one of those games where that happened. He was showing what he could do as, the lead rusher for the team. And unfortunately now, I believe he's already been ruled out for the final game. So,
yeah, I think he's
tough.
more likely. He's definitely on concussion protocol at this point, but shout out to Teron Davenport for letting us use clips with his permission as well. So Callie came in after the game and basically discussed what went down and what happened and how the Titans basically just pretty much just gave another one away.
I wanted to have a chance to get the ball back sooner than that. Those drives take a lot out of the clock. It pushes the game into waning minutes really quickly. Would have loved to find a way to get a stop, but they kept sort of moving the ball slowly down the field and kept taking up time and getting first downs. I think it felt like they were in, third and short for a whole lot of it, and they just keep converting those. It was easy for them to keep the ball on the field and their offense on the field and doing a good enough job stopping it.
As a play caller, does it make it difficult? They get a long drive, they go up by 2 scores. Does it make it a little more difficult to try not to take those shots and just execute your offense?
Yeah, I mean, you're trying to be as smart as you can, trying to make sure you're maintaining the ability to move the ball in the field. You still got to get first downs. You still got to find ways to move the ball. And they're playing in a coverage that's designed to keep in front of them too. So you're going to have to take the completions where you get them and hope you hit a big one or two, which we did, and got ourselves in position. So again, just a little bit short.
Think you're muted.
Well, yeah, that's about how that goes. Just like the Titans season, just unexpected results and just everything else in between. But yeah, pretty much. No, just unfortunately another one that got away, and now the Titans have been swept by the Jaguars. This is now 5 for 6 when playing the Jaguars. So trend has to come up next year to potentially just reverse this and see if we can get this thing back on the right track. And of course, heading into 2025, it's going to come down to the right free agent moves and of course the right draft picks. So guys, we'll take our last break, and when we come back, we love you, we mean it, but we got to get everybody out of here, and it's Monday Night Football tonight, so you know the drill. So quick break, and when we come back, more after this.
You're watching the Power Hour with your hosts, Michael Bishop and Tyler Staggs.
The Power Hour is on the air, live streaming on YouTube, Facebook, X, and Twitch. I'm your host, Michael Bishop, and as always, thank you for joining us on this fine Monday evening. Guys, you killed it in the comments, but what more can we say about what you do? You show up, you show out for us every week, no matter win, lose, or draw. We keep coming back and keep giving you these shows, and that's why, because you, the fans, are the reason why the network continues to be a success. So round of applause for you guys. And don't forget, guys, sharing is caring. Make sure you share out the show with all your Titans friends or NFL fans. We love talking ball no matter what the case. So 24/7, 365, that's how we roll at TUN. Well, Tyler, we know what time it is. You ready to get this thing wrapped up in a nice little bow?
Let's do it.
Hit my theme music, damn it.
Closing time. Good night, losers.
And it's the season finale on CBS at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going throwback, even for the network. So call it the Oiler Upload Network, as the Tennessee Oilers take on the Houston Texans in the home season finale game. Tyler, it's hard to say that we had some high expectations for the season, but here we are, week 18, 3 wins under our belt, many questions coming up, but let's just put it this way. As bad as the season was and as disappointing as everything else has been, it's nice for the fact that we've got an amazing audience and we've got a great fan base to keep coming back to watch the shows, to continue to cooperate, and just be all in all the best audience we could ever ask for. And I wish we could do more and give better. But that being said, final game of the year, final home game of the year, give us your final predictions and who wins.
Yeah, so if you'd have asked me about probably 3 weeks ago, I would have told you that I wanted this one to be a win for the Titans badly. Just to stick it to the Texans, wearing the Oilers uniforms, beating them in them. But I can't do that. I want a Titans loss here. I feel like it is what benefits them the most in the long run. D'Amico Ryans has come out and said that, looks like everyone's going to play for the Texans. So we probably get their starters. We're going to be switching quarterbacks in and out, apparently, with both Levis and Rudolph. Give me the Texans winning this one. And yes, I threw up in my mouth a little bit saying that, but yeah, score doesn't really matter, but just lose one more. Get us that draft position.
Yeah, I'm not changing my mind or my tune for anything or anybody. You know the drill. You know what I've set this up for. I said what I said, and I meant what I said. Give me the Tennessee Oilers, a bologna sandwich to a track of Depeche Mode. And, of course, guys, with Monday night, it is football time. That's right. It's an NFC rematch of the championship of the previous year, where the San Francisco 49ers take on the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions are heading to the playoffs. The 49ers are heading to free agency. Tyler, who do you like in tonight's game?
I like the Lions. I know that this game in the long run doesn't really matter for them because it all comes down to next week against the Vikings for them, but Dan Campbell, he's a guy that wants his team to be going all the time. So, yeah, give me the Lions in this one. And plus, I think, all of San Francisco's offensive line is hurt. So, yeah.
See, now you just spoiled it because I was going to go for an upset pick here. I was like, maybe fortune will favor the bold here. Because why wouldn't I want to do it? What do I have to lose at this point? You know what, the hell with it. Give me the 49ers in an upset. I'm going to go 49ers 31-28.
Whoa.
And yes, that's probably a stretch, but I'm going for it. I am going to go for it. So give me an upset here. Fortune favors the bold. I'll keep that in mind. But regardless, thank you guys for joining us on the show tonight. Thank you for watching the Power Hour. You guys have killed it once again. Love you. Mean it. Round of applause one more time before we get out of here. And don't forget, guys, if you love the show, help it grow. Follow us on all our social media platforms. We have one more watch party for the year, and then we go into off-season mode. So catch it on Sunday. Rossi's more than likely going to be back and be putting another show out as well. We have got a lot to talk about before we hit to the off-season. So one more game. Regardless, we're going to get this thing one way or the other. We'll figure it out. So don't miss the game. Sunday upload's going to give everything, and I promise we've got some playoff matchups for you as well. So believe me, once the playoffs start, we're going to stay busy. But this is the last regular season game that we'll be doing for the Tennessee Titans. And don't forget, guys, check out the roundtable this week. We should be having a show by Wednesday, but keep in touch. We'll try and get it out for you on Wednesday for when we get to the AFC South roundtable. And shout out to one of our sponsors, Recovery Unplugged. Recovery is possible when you're ready to reach out and find something better in life through the healing power of music. Reach out to Recovery Unplugged. Reach out to Titan Rossi for more information or call them at 844-305-8599. And, of course, if you're trying to get more social media content, check us out at Blue Sky because we want to be on every platform we can, regardless of whatever, because we want to make sure that you can find the Titan Upload Network wherever you need content. So, Tyler, before we get out of here, we'll give you the final thoughts for the show, so fire away.
Final thoughts. Whatever your thoughts are on the final game, whether you're cheering for a win, cheering for a loss, it is what it is. You fan however you want to fan. Don't let anyone tell you different. And just because people disagree doesn't mean that they're less of a fan for wanting the opposite. That's my final thoughts.
And of course, my final thought, just relax. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Please don't come on here Monday freaking out. Everything will be okay. Just don't lose it.
Oh my gosh!
Everything will be fine. Just like everything else is going to take its toll. Just breathe, relax, center. But regardless, thanks for watching us. We'll be back next Monday, potentially talking about what the Titans' future will be looking like. So for Tyler Staggs, I'm Michael Bishop of the Power Hour. And as always, take care and tighten up.
Tighten up.
You're watching the Titan Upload Network.